I'm Olivia. This is Rewind Justice. Real stories, real drama, real satisfaction. Subscribe and let's get into it. The restaurant had white tablecloths and candles in glass holders. Through the windows, I could see the harbor. Boats rocked on dark water. It was graduation night, mine and Melissa's. We'd both walked across the stage that morning. Same university. Same caps and gowns. Same diploma covers. Different everything else. Dad ordered champagne. Mom kept checking her phone and smiling. Melissa looked like she was about to burst. "We have something special for you, sweetheart," Mom said, sliding an envelope across the table to Melissa. Melissa opened it. Her hands shook. She pulled out a check and her mouth fell open. $150,000? "For your house," Dad said. He was beaming. "You've worked so hard. You deserve this." Mom squeezed Melissa's hand. "We're so proud of you." Melissa started crying. Happy tears. She came around the table and hugged them both. The waiter paused, smiling at the scene. Other diners glanced over. I sat there. My water glass was sweating onto the tablecloth. I could smell garlic and bread from the kitchen. "Congratulations," I said to Melissa. She wiped her eyes. "Thank you. I can't believe this." I looked at my parents, waited. Mom noticed and reached for her purse. She pulled out nothing, just set her purse back down. "We're so glad you finished school, honey." That was it. "What about me?" The words came out quieter than I meant them. Dad set down his champagne. "What about you?" "Melissa just got $150,000. What do I get?" Mom's face tightened. "Don't be ungrateful." "I'm not ungrateful. I'm asking a question." Dad leaned back in his chair. "Melissa needed help with her future. She's making smart investments. A house is equity. I need help too. I have student loans. I'm living in a basement apartment with black mold." "You've always been so independent," Mom said. Her voice had that edge. The one that meant the conversation was over. "You'll figure something out. You always do." Melissa looked uncomfortable for exactly 2 seconds. Then she looked back at her check. "I worked 3 jobs through school," I said. My voice stayed level. Calm. "Melissa lived at home. You paid her tuition." "All of it. That's different," Dad said. "How?" "She needed the support. You're stronger. You can handle more." The candle flickered between us. I could hear jazz playing through the speakers. Someone laughed at the bar. "So I get nothing." Dad's jaw tightened. "You're the failure, honestly. We invest in winners. Melissa has always had direction. Focus. You've just struggled." The word hung in the air. "Struggled?" Mom nodded. "We're trying to be smart with our resources. You understand." I looked at Melissa. She was staring at her check. She didn't look at me. I stood up. My napkin fell to the floor. "Where are you going?" Mom asked. "Away." "Don't be dramatic," Dad said. "Sit down." We ordered dinner. "Congratulations, Melissa," I said. "Enjoy your house." I walked out. Behind me, I heard Mom say, "Let her go." She calmed down and apologized tomorrow. I didn't apologize tomorrow. Or ever. The pattern had always been there. I just hadn't let myself see it clearly. Clearly. When I was 10, I won the district art competition. My painting, a landscape with mountains and a river, had taken me 2 months. I'd watched YouTube tutorials. Mixed colors until they were perfect. The judges gave me a blue ribbon and a $100 savings bond. Mom missed the ceremony because Melissa had a soccer game. When I got home with my ribbon, Dad glanced at it. "That's nice." He went back to his laptop. Melissa's participation trophies lined the mantel. My painting went in my closet. When I turned 14, my birthday fell on a Wednesday. Mom made spaghetti. We ate in front of the TV. No cake. "Money's tight," she said. "We'll celebrate this weekend." We didn't celebrate that weekend. 4 months later, Melissa turned 12. They rented a roller rink, invited 40 kids. The cake was 3 layers with fondant flowers. I served pizza and picked up trash. When I asked Mom why Melissa's party was so big, she said, Don't compare. It's not attractive. At 17, I saved $1,200 from my grocery store job to take driver's ed and get my license. Melissa got a car for her 15th birthday, a used Civic, but still. She couldn't even drive it legally yet. She'd grow into it, Dad said when I asked. You can take the bus. Builds character. I took the bus. Melissa's car sat in the driveway with a bow on it for 8 months. College was where it crystallized. I got into the state university with a partial scholarship, still needed $9,000 a year. I worked at a campus coffee shop from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., went to classes until 3 p.m., then worked at the library until 10 p.m. Weekends I stocked shelves at Target overnight. 4 hours of sleep became normal. Melissa toured private schools with Mom and Dad. They paid her full tuition at a private liberal arts college, $52,000 a year. She got a single occupancy dorm room, the premium meal plan, and $500 a month spending money. Your school is cheaper, Mom said when I asked for help with books. You can handle it. I handled it. I ate ramen and bagels. I wore the same jacket for 3 years. The sole of my left boot separated from the top. I duct taped it. When it rained, my sock got wet. Melissa posted Instagram photos from formals and beach trips. She studied abroad in Italy junior year. She complained about being tired after her 12-credit semesters while I took 19 credits and worked 65 hours a week. Every time I brought up the inequality, I got the same responses. You're so capable. Melissa needs more support. Independence is valuable. We're teaching you resilience. By graduation, I'd done the math. Melissa, $208,000 in tuition, $48,000 in housing, $24,000 in allowances. The car, the Italy trip, the sorority fees they paid. Me, $0. And at that graduation dinner, they gave her another $150,000 while calling me a failure. I drove back to my basement apartment. Water stains spread across the ceiling like dark clouds. The bathroom had black mold in the corners. My bed was a mattress on the floor. My desk was a TV tray. I sat on that mattress and opened my laptop. My bank account showed $412. My student loan debt was $47,000. I looked around at my life. At everything I built with no help. At the exhaustion that lived in my bones. And I made a decision. I blocked all their numbers. Mom, Dad, Melissa. I deleted my social media accounts, all of them. I packed everything I owned into my car. It fit in 5 boxes and 2 garbage bags. I drove west. I had $412 and a degree in computer science that had cost me 4 years of sleep and sanity. No plan, no safety net. Just done. Done begging people who called me family to see me as worth investing in. I ended up in Denver. The mountains felt like walls protecting me from my old life. I found a motel that charged $38 a night and got a job washing dishes at a steakhouse. The grease never came out of my hair. My hands cracked and bled from the industrial soap. I was 22 with a college degree, scrubbing pans until 3 a.m., but I was applying to every tech job I could find. Junior developer, tester, data entry, anything. 2 months in, my money ran out. I slept in my car for 9 days. The Colorado nights were cold even in summer. I parked behind a 24-hour gym and paid $10 a month for membership so I could shower. I ate from dollar menus. My stomach hurt constantly. Then I met Margaret. She was 67, a retired programmer who came into the coffee shop where I'd picked up morning shifts. I made her latte wrong because I was falling asleep on my feet. Long night? She asked. Long year. She studied me. Gray hair in a bun. Sharp eyes behind wire-frame glasses. You in school? Graduated. Computer science. And you're making coffee? Paying rent. She came back the next day. And the day after. On the 5th day, she brought a laptop. Show me something you've built. I pulled up a portfolio site on her screen. Showed her an inventory management system I'd built as a class project. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. Margaret nodded slowly. This is solid. Clean code. Good logic. Thank you. You looking for work? Desperately. She owned a small software consulting firm, She hired me on the spot. $45,000 a year. Full time. I cried in the coffee shop bathroom. Margaret taught me everything. Not just coding, though she was brilliant at that, but how to talk to clients. How to scope projects. How to see problems before they became fires. You're good at this, she said 3 months in. Really good. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I worked harder than I'd ever worked. Margaret's clients started requesting me specifically. A local hospital system needed database work. A logistics company needed an app redesign. We took on bigger and bigger projects. By the end of year 1, I was making $72,000. I got an apartment with a real bed and a bathroom without mold. I bought a winter coat that wasn't from a thrift store. I didn't think about my family. When Mom's face popped into my head, "You're the failure," I pushed it down. They'd made their choice. Year 2 changed everything. Margaret introduced me to a venture capital firm that was looking for a technical lead on a sustainable housing project. They wanted to use AI and machine learning to optimize eco-cabin construction, energy efficiency, material waste reduction, custom designs for clients. I can't afford to take a startup risk, I said. You wouldn't be hired, the VC said. Her name was Diane. Sharp suit. Sharper eyes. You'd be a co-founder. 20% equity. Salary starts at $90,000. I stared at her. Why me? Margaret says you're brilliant and hungry. That's the combination we want. I joined as CTO and technical co-founder. The startup was called EcoNest Design. We worked out of a cramped office that smelled like coffee and desperation. 16-hour days became normal again. But this time I was building something mine. The product worked. Our algorithm could design a custom sustainable cabin, optimize materials to reduce waste by 40%, and cut energy costs in half. We landed our first client, then 10 more. Then 50. 18 months after I joined, we got a contract with a major resort developer. They wanted 80 luxury eco-cabins across Colorado and Montana. The contract was worth $1.2 million. I bought land, not just land, a property. 8 acres in the mountains an hour outside Denver. I hired our own company to design my house, a custom eco-cabin that sat on a ridge overlooking a valley. Floor-to-ceiling windows, solar panels and geothermal heating, rainwater collection, a vegetable garden, a workshop. The gate at the end of the driveway had a custom sign. Harper Hayes EcoNest Design Private Property. The house cost me $5.2 million total. I paid cash. I stood in my living room the day I moved in. The sunset turned the mountains purple and orange. I could hear nothing but wind through pine trees and a creek running somewhere below. I was 24 years old. I built this with my own hands, my own mind, my own refusal to quit. For the first time in my life, the silence wasn't empty. It was peaceful. I didn't tell anyone from my old life. I didn't post photos. I existed in a world where my parents' opinions simply didn't exist anymore. Not missed, not thought about, just absent. I thought I'd stay hidden forever. Then Melissa took a wrong turn. She was visiting a friend in Colorado. I found out later. She'd gotten lost on the mountain roads and ended up on mine. She saw the gate, saw my name in custom ironwork, saw the house through the trees. Margaret called me that evening. You're not going to believe this. A woman came to the office, said she was your sister. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. My chest tightened. What did you tell her? Nothing. But Harper, she seemed to know where you live. She kept saying she needed to talk to you. I hung up, walked to my window. The valley was turning dark. Lights from distant houses sparkled like stars. The piece I'd built was about to crack. They came the next morning. All 3 of them. Melissa's Civic pulled up first, older now, rust spots on the bumper. Then my parents' sedan. They stood at my gate, staring up at the house like it had fallen from the sky. I walked down the driveway. Opened the gate manually. Didn't invite them past it. Mom had aged. Deep lines around her mouth. Gray streaking through her brown hair. Dad's shoulders slumped in a way they hadn't before. Melissa just stared. Hi, I said. What is this? Dad's voice came out sharp. Confused. My house. How ... Mom trailed off, looking from the gate to the house to me. I worked. Melissa found words. This place has to be worth millions. 5.2, actually. The wind moved through the aspens. A hawk called from somewhere above us. You've been here this whole time? Mom's voice went high. While we've been worried sick about you. Have you been worried? Of course we have. You disappeared. Changed your number. We thought something terrible happened. Something terrible did happen, I said. You called me a failure and gave Melissa $150,000 while giving me nothing. Dad waved his hand dismissively. That was about setting Melissa up for success. We knew you'd land on your feet. And I did. Melissa stepped forward. Her face was red. How did you afford this? This is impossible. I started a company. EcoNest Design. We do sustainable housing development. With what money? Her voice cracked. $412. And nobody's help. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We're still your family, Harper. Are you? Don't be cruel, Dad said. His jaw was tight. I'm not cruel. I'm factual. A truck pulled up behind their cars. Margaret got out, followed by Diane and another man, Stephen, the CEO of the resort company we'd contracted with. Everything okay, Harper? Margaret called. Fine. They were just leaving. Stephen walked up, hand extended. Harper, good timing. We wanted to discuss the Montana expansion. Another 60 cabins. We're looking at $900,000 for phase 2. My parents' faces went slack. Stephen glanced at them. Family? Former family. He nodded slowly. Turned to my parents. You must be incredibly proud. Harper's built one of the most innovative sustainable design companies in the region. She's brilliant. Nobody spoke. Stephen handed me a folder. Proposals in here. Let's talk next week. He nodded to my parents and left. Margaret squeezed my shoulder. Call me later. She and Diane drove off. Melissa's voice was barely a whisper. You're a millionaire? Yes. And you just, disappeared on us? You disappeared on me first. You just didn't notice because you were too busy spending their money. Mom grabbed my arm. We made mistakes, but family forgives. We can start over. We'll help you now. Help me with what? I pulled away. I don't need help. I needed help when I was sleeping in my car. I needed help when I was working 3 jobs through college. I needed help at graduation dinner. You gave me nothing. You gave me worse than nothing. You called me a failure. Dad's face hardened. We gave you opportunities. You went to college. I had student loans and night shifts and duct tape holding my boots together while Melissa had everything handed to her. She needed support, Mom said. No, you chose to support her. You chose not to support me. Those were choices. And I'm choosing now. Melissa was crying. I didn't know it was this bad. Yes, you did. You watched it happen. You said nothing. I turned toward my house. Harper! Dad shouted. You can't turn your back on family. I stopped, turned around. Watch me. After everything we sacrificed, Mom started. What did you sacrifice? Specifically. Silence. A crow cawed from a pine tree. Right. I looked at Melissa. Hope the house they bought you was worth it. Melissa's face went white. What does that mean? I didn't answer. I walked through my gate and locked it behind me. They stood there for 40 minutes. I watched from my window. Melissa cried. Dad paced and gestured. Mom kept staring at the house like she could will me to come back out. Finally, they left. The calls started immediately. 67 calls from Dad in the first day. 43 from Mom. 31 from Melissa. My voicemail filled up. We need to talk about this. You're being unreasonable. Family doesn't abandon. Family. You owe us a conversation. I blocked them. Changed my number again. Told Margaret and Diane not to give it out. 2 weeks later, Margaret called. You should sit down? Why? Melissa's house is in foreclosure. I said nothing. Your parents co-signed her mortgage. They've been making most of the payments because Melissa couldn't afford them. After they saw your place, they stopped paying. They tried to use that money to buy a condo near you. But their credit application got denied. Too much debt. Now the bank's taking Melissa's house and your parents' house might go too. How do you know this? Melissa came back to the office, crying, begging me to get you to help them. Said it was your fault for flaunting your wealth. And I told her to leave or I'd call security. And I smiled despite myself. The consequences came in waves after that. Melissa's husband, the one she'd married in a $95,000 wedding my parents paid for, filed for divorce. The financial stress destroyed them. The court papers somehow ended up in Margaret's hands. She showed them to me. Melissa moved back in with my parents. Into her childhood bedroom. At 24 years old. Dad got laid off from his accounting firm. He was 62. Too old to start over easily. Too young for retirement. I heard through Margaret's network he was working at a hardware store for $16 an hour. Mom tried to reach me through LinkedIn with a fake profile. I recognized her profile picture, older but still her. Her posts were passive-aggressive. Blood is thicker than water. Real family never abandons each other. Success means nothing without family to share it with. Then someone in her network shared an article about EcoNest design. About me. About the CTO who'd built a multi-million-dollar company from scratch with no family money. No trust fund, no support system. The LinkedIn comments changed fast. Wait, isn't that your daughter? You said she abandoned you. Sounds like you abandoned her? This article says she worked 3 jobs through college while you paid for her sister's private school? So she's successful despite you, not because of you? Mom deleted LinkedIn. 6 months after the gate confrontation, a letter arrived at my business address. Handwritten on floral stationery. Dear Harper, we were wrong. We see that now. We made terrible mistakes and we're so sorry. Melissa is struggling. We're struggling. We lost the house. Dad's working retail. We never thought you'd actually leave forever. We thought you'd always be there. Please, we're family. We just need a small loan. $50,000 to get back on our feet. We'll pay you back with interest. Love always, Mom and Dad. I read it once. Twice. Then I fed it into my office shredder. A year after that, I spoke at a tech conference in Seattle. Margaret insisted. You have a story people need to hear. The talk was about building success without resources. I didn't name my family, but the story was clear. When the people who should invest in you don't, you learn to invest in yourself. You learn that your worth isn't determined by who believes in you, but by what you build despite who doesn't believe in you. Standing ovation. 2,000 people on their feet. Backstage, a documentary producer approached me. I'm doing a series on self-made founders. Specifically ones who succeeded despite family obstacles. Your story is exactly what we need. I'll pay you 6 figures. And we'll tell the truth. I looked at Margaret. She shrugged. Your choice. But your story might help someone else leave. I did the documentary. It aired 10 months later on Netflix. I didn't hide anything. The graduation dinner. The $150,000 check to Melissa. The "you're the failure" quote. The $412 I left with. Sleeping in my car. The climb to a $5.2 million house and a thriving company. My parents' faces were blurred, their names were changed. But their words were there. Crystal clear. The internet found them anyway. People are resourceful when they're angry on someone's behalf. Their Facebook accounts got flooded. The town newspaper ran a story. Local parents. Favoritism exposed in viral documentary. Dad's hardware store coworkers saw it. Mom's book club saw it. Melissa's former friends saw it. They moved. I heard Arizona. A rental apartment. Cheaper cost of living. Melissa tried once more to reach me. She showed up at an EcoNest promotional event. Got past building security somehow. Stood in the lobby in front of me. Harper, she said. Please. I looked at her. She'd aged in hard ways. Lines around her eyes. Her clothes were cheaper than they used to be. What do you want? I'm sorry. I was selfish and blind, and I didn't understand what they were doing to you. what I was complicit in. You were 22 at that dinner. That's not that young. I know. But I understand now. I lost everything. The house, the marriage, my parents' support. I know what it feels like to be the failure now. Good. Can we start over? Can we be sisters again? I thought about it, really considered it. This woman who'd had every advantage I was denied. Who'd sat silently while our parents called me a failure. Who'd accepted $150,000 without question while I got nothing. No, I said. Harper, please. You don't get to understand after you've lost everything. You should have understood when I had nothing and you had everything. That was the test, Melissa. You failed it. I walked away. She didn't follow. I'm 26 now. EcoNest is valued at $47 million. We've designed 400 sustainable properties across 6 states. Margaret retired last year. I bought her a cabin in the mountains as a thank you. Diane and I are partners and friends. I have a boyfriend, Marcus, who grew up in foster care and understands exactly what it means to build family from nothing. I have everything I built with my own hands and my own mind. Sometimes I stand on my deck at sunrise and think about that graduation dinner. The envelope sliding to Melissa. The casual cruelty of you're the failure and we invest in winners. I don't feel angry anymore. I don't feel hurt. I feel distant. Like they're characters in a story someone told me once. A cautionary tale. My parents sent a Christmas card last year. I didn't open it. It sits in a drawer somewhere. This morning, I got an email from Melissa. Subject: I'm getting married and I'd really like you there. I deleted it. Maybe that makes me cold. Maybe I should be the bigger person. Extend grace. Model forgiveness. But I learned something important these 4 years. You don't owe open doors to people who taught you that you weren't worth walking through them in the first place. I built my own door. I put my name on it. And I'm the only one who decides who comes through. If you've ever been the scapegoat, the one who had to earn love while others received it freely, the one who built everything from nothing while others got shortcuts, share your story in the comments. You're not alone. And if you're still in the building phase, still working 3 jobs, still sleeping in your car, still being called the failure, keep going. The view from the other side is worth every sleepless night. Subscribe for more stories about choosing yourself over people who never chose you.